Hello my kids, welcome to New Academy Year. It is time for Math Primary 3 with Miss Lahat Bashirin.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now we start chapter 2 part 1 about fractions. Fractions. How could I cut the apple to give two friends an equal part? You should cut the apple into halves to give each of them an equal part. One whole divided into one half of the whole and one half of the whole. Fractions, it is a number that expresses equal parts of a whole object. One whole can be divided equally into two halves. If two persons wanted to share a cookie fairly, circle the right image. The first one is not equal parts, but the second one divided into two equal parts. So, we choose the second image, okay? If three persons wanted to share a cookie fairly, circle the right image. First one or second one? Yes, excellent. The first one is divided into three equal parts. So, we choose the first image. If four persons wanted to share a cookie fairly, circle the right image. The first one or second one? Excellent, the second one. How can we read fraction? How can we read fractions? The first one divided into two equal parts, so it divided into halves. But the second one divided into three equal parts, each part equal thirds. We have 3/3. The third one divided into fourths. We have 4 parts. Here we have 5 parts, so the whole one divided into fifths. Each part called fifth, okay? Here the whole one divided into 6 parts, so each part called sixth. It divided into sixths. And if we divide into 7 parts, 7 equal parts, each one called seventh. If we divided it into 8 parts, each one called eighth. If we divided it into 9, each one called ninth. The fraction as a part of a whole. One whole divided into 2 parts. Okay? One whole divided into 2 parts, each one called half. 1/2 called half. Okay? And one whole equal 2 halves. The one whole equal 2 halves. If we divide one whole into 3 parts, each one called third. 1/3 called third. One whole equal 3/3. If we divide one whole into 4 equal parts, each one called fourth or quarter. One whole equal 4/4 or 4 quarters. Remember, one whole can be divided into 2 halves, 3/3, 4/4, 5/5, and so on. Answers the question. How many halves in the whole one? Yes, 2. Excellent. How many thirds in the whole one? 3 thirds. How many fourths in the whole one? 4. 4 fourths. I can say 4 quarters. Okay. How many fifths in the whole one? 5 fifths. How many sixths in the whole one? Excellent. 6 sixths. How can we read unit fractions? We write fraction as A over B. A over B. This is fraction bar, and number A is numerator, and the second one in the bottom called denominator. Again, we have fraction bar and numerator and denominator. The number at the top represents the shaded part, which is called numerator. The number at the bottom represents the total number of the parts, which is called denominator. 1 over 2 half, read as 1 half. The shaded part, number 1, numerator is the shaded part. I have 1 shaded part, okay? 1 over 2. 2 is the total number of parts, okay? 1 over 3, I have 1 shaded part, 1, and the total number of parts is 3. 1 over 3, read as 1/3. 1/3. 1 over 4, I have 1 shaded part from 4 parts. 1 over 4, read as 1/4. 1/4. 1 over 5, read as 1/5. 1 is the shaded part and 5 is the all parts. 1 over 6, read as 1/6. 1/6. 1 shaded part and 6 is the number of all parts. One over 2, 1 over 3, 1 over 4, 1 over 5, 1 over 6, and so on are called unit fractions. Why? Because they have 1 as a numerator. 1 as the numerator. How we can compare unit fractions? The first step, compare the denominators because the numerators are the same. The second step, search for the denominator with the smaller number because the small denominator represents the large basis. We noticed that the denominators with the smaller number represent the bigger fraction. So, half is greater than third, and third greater than fourth, 1/4, and 1/4 is greater than 1/5, and 1/5 is greater than 1 over 6 or 6, and so on. Put more than or less than. We have half and third. The numerators are the same, so we look at the denominators. The smallest one is the greatest fraction. So, half is more than third. The second one, we have 1 over 10 and 1 over 7. The numerators are the same, so we look at the denominators. The smallest one is the greatest fraction. 7 is smallest than 10, so 1 over 10 is less than 1 over 7. The third one, who's greatest, 1/2 or 1/7? Excellent. 1/2 is more than 1/7. Now we have half and 1. We know that 1 equal 2 over 2. 2 halves. So 1 half is less than 1. 1 over 10 and 1 over 3. Who is the greatest? Excellent. The smallest denominator is the greatest fraction. So 1 over 10 is less than 1 over 3. Who's greatest? 1 over 7 or half? Excellent. 1 over 7 is less than 1 half. Who is greatest? Half or quarter? Excellent. Half is greatest than quarter. 1 over 9 or 1 quarter? Excellent. 1 over 9 is less than 1 quarter.
See you later.